This session explores the synergy between emotional intelligence and financial literacy, how that combination strengthens decision-making, confidence, and outcomes. Please welcome Lorrena Black, leadership expert, and Dr. Darla Bishop, financial wellness professor and author of The Planner's Edge. Lorrena and Darla, welcome to the stage. I'll have you take it away.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What a day, right? I want you to take a moment and I want you to slow down and I want you to think about today. It's been full. Big ideas, big conversations, and big possibilities for future events. You've explored how to make the ask with confidence, how to design experiences that truly connect, how to think about ROI in more human ways, and how technology can support your work without replacing what makes it meaningful. I'd like everyone to take a minute and just drop in the chat something that you're like definitely taking away with you today.
I see a fun GIF of money. So hopefully that means you're taking some money home with you. I would love some of that.
Right. Lost the slides.
Oh, so many great things. Evelyn, but tell us what. Name one thing you're taking with you. Inclusivity insights. That's awesome. How to make sure that all of your attendees can participate fully. Team balance and trust.
That's huge.
Intention. Yes. Snaps for that. We've got a second. I'll wait for a couple more. Okay, great. Going to implement the alien mentality. Yes, the session just before us talked about if an alien was coming down, you had to explain what you were doing. How exactly would you explain that? And what an important exercise.
Comparable to a child?
Kind of, but maybe easier. Setting time aside for strategic thinking. So thank you so much for sharing that, everyone. So as you shared examples, and what I kept seeing is that there's a theme that showed up over and over again, is that great events live at the intersection of people and resources.
And that intersection is exactly what we call the planner's edge. When we think about mastering the ask, we're really talking about confidence, the emotional intelligence to read the room, to manage pressure, and to communicate clearly.
And confidence is really strengthened when you understand the financial picture. Because when you know the numbers, top, down, left, right, that helps you negotiate different, make confident choices, make choices quickly, and should a stakeholder ask about them, defend them very fervently if you need to.
Yeah. And when we think about experience design, we talked about how space and moments, those really shape how people feel. And that's extremely important.
And when it comes down to it, we also know that every experience decision, which flowers, what lighting, which vendor, our start and end times, how much time we've allotted between sessions, that those also have a financial and budget consequence. So when you invest, where you invest gives signals to your attendees and stakeholders about what was important in the planning of the activity. And so when I think it was Morgan gave the example in the chat of inclusivity insights, being intentional about where to make sure there's space for various types of attendees to participate fully. Yes, it may have a budget impact, but it may just mean thinking more deeply about how we're going to include all comers.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk a minute about that silent ROI. I mean, that's the impact that shows up in engagement. It shows up in belonging. But also, which closely ties with emotional intelligence, it shows up in behavior.
Yeah. And those outcomes, that when you take that survey at the end and people say, oh, I really love this session. I learned so much. I felt like I was with my people, right? That's one of the best comments or ratings to get after an event. That comes because you had thoughtful resource allocation at every step of the way.
And since we mentioned technology, we have to talk about AI, right? And you learned that with AI, how the different tools that are out there that are available to us can increase efficiency. It's not something we need to be afraid of, right?
Right. But when it comes down to it, it still requires judgment, your expertise around the context, and the human understanding of what people said they loved the last time you did this event, or what people said they didn't love the last time you did this event, and working that in.
So let's zoom out a little bit. And I think you'd all agree that today wasn't just about tactics. It's about how you as planners lead. The planners who consistently, those of you that consistently create meaningful and successful events, you all aren't just organized. You operate from 3 really important things.
Yeah. And those are clarity, connection, and confidence. Because clarity is when you understand that there is, of course, a financial landscape. And when you understand that financial landscape deeply, you make decisions faster and communicate more effectively, because that clarity reduces your hesitation and strengthens your influence. And I'd love to share an example. I'm in the process of planning a very important personal event. And just today, someone who's on the planning committee for this very important personal event said, oh, and what are we going to do about music? And we'd already discussed earlier in the process that we were going to use the event space's built-in sound system. We have a fantastic family-safe playlist that we're going to play just as ambient music during the meal portion. And they said, oh, but my friend happens to be available and we should hire them to come play some songs. And the good news about me understanding the budget really deeply is I was very easy to say, wow, I love your friend. And in fact, if your friend's available, tell them to come to the event, but we will not be hiring them because that's not in the budget. And I was able to do that clearly, directly, quickly, and with kindness because I know the numbers.
Well, and Darla, you had connection with that person, right? And so when you understand people, and you understand their expectations, their concerns, in this case, their motivations, right? That was coming from a good place. But understanding all of that makes collaboration better, and it reduces any kind of friction. Because had you not known that person or had a connection, maybe that conversation could have gone differently and not as smoothly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then that confidence, right? Because they all work together. It was very easy because of my clarity and, like Lorrena said, that connection to very quickly be like, nope, we're not doing it. We're not changing course. The event is Sunday. Thank you so much. And I love you. And your friend can come, but we are not hiring a musician. But the idea here is that because that clarity and connection came together, right, you get to step into every conversation, even if it is one that starts with friction or that you anticipate the other person is ready for conflicts. You get to step in and really provide certainty and a steadiness that comes because you were already there. And that's when your stronger outcomes get cemented, because that means that even though that stakeholder started off with an idea or a conflict, you were able to right the ship and keep everything smooth.
Love it. Love it. So we want to leave you with something simple that you can actually use the next time you open your event budget.
Yeah, think about this as a quick reset. This is, with the 3 emotional intelligence competencies, but applied directly to the financial decisions, because those financial decisions lead to what experience you're building.
Yeah. And while there are a multitude of different emotional intelligence competencies, the three that we're really focused on today are self-awareness, which is the foundation of emotional intelligence. You have to have that first. Empathy, that's putting yourself in their shoes, and influence. And all of these things make me think about a time when I was in the military. And no, I wasn't dealing with a budget and I wasn't dealing with planning an event, but I was dealing with a very difficult boss. And we were in the middle of the Mojave Desert doing a training exercise. And I was responsible for communications for this exercise. So think the tactical AT&T provider of your internet, basically, and radios and all of that. And the sandstorm came in and it knocked out all of our communications. And so my boss, who wasn't very emotionally intelligent and didn't have any emotional self-control, is screaming and yelling at me in the middle of the storm to get the system working, which I'm not a magician, right? So my soldiers are out there and they're trying. And the good thing is that I was aware of what I was feeling, but instead of reacting, I maintained my emotional self-control and I put myself in my I cannot say soldiers today. I want to say shoulder in my oh my goodness, my soldiers' shoes. And I was able to show empathy. And in turn, that influenced how hard they were willing to work. We never got the comms back up, but I had a better relationship with my soldiers after that event.
That's right. And so this is a great part that if you still have a notebook or something to take notes, this is that quick check-in that you can take with you. So the first piece is around the self-awareness. So the very first question that you can kind of use as this filter is, one, am I allocating based on strategy or reacting to pressure? So this morning, when I talked with my co-planner about the music, if I had reacted to their really bright idea versus thinking about our overall strategy for the event, we might have blown our budget just a few days before the event, right? But because I was able to pause and be like, wait, the strategy of this event, the way that we want people to feel during and after is already set with the plan we have in place. So we don't need to change gears just a few days before because we have some new information. So am I allocating based on strategy or reacting to pressure? And not all pressure is negative pressure. Sometimes it could be positive pressure. My co-planner was super excited about her friend being available, right? But it was pressure.
Yeah. And then the second question is, how will this decision be experienced by the people it affects? And that's important because you know this, that budgets shape attendee experience. It also shapes the team workload and your vendor relationships. So you really want to think about how it will be experienced by the people.
That's right. And lastly, it's what conversations need to happen now, right? Because strong financial outcomes, being able to be under or on budget, really depend on timely and clear communication. So if I didn't kind of close out the conversation about the musician today, we might have let another 24 or 48 hours pass. The musician might be holding the time, which could damage a relationship. The agenda could be held up from this, right? So thinking about if the conversation needs to happen now and to start that conversation, even if it may be a bit uncomfortable. And so when you use these three lenses, the budgeting part becomes more intentional and collaborative because you led with your own emotional intelligence.
And that truly is where the real edge shows up. Because again, you know this, great events don't happen by accident.
They happen through thoughtful decisions.
Not just by what looks good,
but what aligns strategically. And when emotional intelligence and the financial clarity work together, you are not just executing events, you're elevating the entire experience.
You all have really important jobs because you don't just plan events. You shape moments that influence people, that influence organizations and outcomes. And when you lead with empathy and strategy together, you step fully into your edge.